Hi everyone, I'm Marv Reynolds, co-founder of Reset Your Barcode Training Academy, where we teach you how to reset your presets so that you can move past the things that hold you back and begin to accomplish the things that you really desire. And today I wanted to share a couple of things financially relative to financial freedom. You see, for a lot of people, I've learned over the years, when you ask them, what is financial freedom to you? For many, it becomes this, well, if I were completely out of debt and if I had a big fat bank account that provided all the cash flow I needed, then I'd be financially free. Well, that's a great definition, except for this one thing. For most people, that is so far away into the future that they don't think they're ever going to reach it, and so they give up and they fall back to some poor financial habits that frankly cause a lot of difficulty for most people and for countries, for nations. And so what I wanted to introduce today is what I call the 5 degrees of financial freedom. So picture it like earning your black belt in karate or something, where we're going to do this 1 degree at a time. And at each level, at each degree, we're going to experience a whole new level of financial freedom. And so this way it's very attainable, and it's something we can do right now. So we can go to the next level and then to the next level and so forth. So the first level, or the first degree of financial freedom, is when you learn to spend less than you earn. Imagine how liberating it is to know that I'm not going backward every month. So all you have to do that is set up a spending plan that actually spends less than is being earned. So not very hard. And that's one of the things we'll teach you how to do, how to put together a budget or a spending plan, if you will, that allows you to get control of your finances so that you can experience the first degree of financial freedom, where you're actually spending less than you earn. All right, well, the second degree of financial freedom is when you have all of the appropriate protections in place. See, there are so many things that can wipe out a financial plan, and the ones that are the worst of all are the ones you cannot recover from. See, as painful as it might be, I could recover most likely from the loss of a car, even if I had to pay it off before I could replace it. Same thing, if a house burnt down, that'd be a terrible tragedy, but as long as I could work and be creative, I could probably overcome that kind of a loss. But you see, if I become broken and can never produce income again, or if I get kicked off the planet and never have the chance to earn anymore to make that contribution, then my ability to provide financial freedom to those who depend on me is over. So the first step is to learn to spend less than you earn. The second step is to make sure that appropriate protections, such as life insurance, disability insurance, health insurance, those kinds of things that could cause a major financial train wreck, make sure that they're protected so that money shows up if needed. Then you go to the third level, or the third degree of financial freedom. And that's where you simply have an emergency and opportunity fund. Now what I mean by that is everybody should have an emergency fund. Now how big should it be? Well, that's a very individual situation. But for most, a good rule of thumb is somewhere around 6 months' worth of living expenses. Of course, there are a lot of factors that you need to be taken into account, and we help you understand those things. But once you understand that if I have 6 months' worth of living expenses, say that's the level that I decide upon, once I achieve that, now I'm experiencing a whole new level of financial freedom, because if I have an emergency, I simply go to my emergency fund and pay for it, as opposed to having to go back into debt and then having to work my way out of it. So the first degree is spending less than I earn. Second degree is having the appropriate protections in place. By the way, very liberating to know that if something happens to you, the ones you love and care about are going to be taken care of. The third level is having an emergency fund so that you can take care of yourself and not have to backslide or go backward in the event of an emergency. Now, once you reach your 6-month living expense level, then you go into the opportunity fund. See, this is the money that we continue to save so that we can turn around and replace the roof, the washer, the refrigerator, fix the car, whatever needs to be done, because we want to keep that 6-month reserve for when we can't produce income. So first we start out and we achieve the level that we need for the emergency fund. Then we go into the opportunity fund level and see what we can do there. So now we've reached a whole new level, I guess the third degree of financial freedom. Now let's talk about the fourth degree. See, that's where we turn and take all of our efforts now that we have an emergency fund, proper protection, spending less than we earn. Now we take all of our financial energy over and above, and we accelerate any possible debt reduction. We start with the worst first, and we go to the second next, and we just get rid of debt and then live debt-free from then on. Not good debt and bad debt, I mean zero debt. You cannot imagine how it feels. See, it's amazing what you can do when you don't owe anybody else money. See, for a lot of us, we spend a lot of time on the earn and consume treadmill. But at least while we're on the treadmill, we have the ability to set the dials and adjust the settings so that we know how fast we have to run or what incline or what duration. The problem is when we take on debt, we get those controls and we give them to somebody else. Now they call the shots. They adjust the settings and say, this is how fast you have to run, this is the incline I want you to run at, and this is how long you're going to run. So the best thing you can do once those other three things are in place, degree number 4, is get rid of the debt. Systematically wipe it out so you don't have to worry about it ever again. Now the 5th degree. And this is why this is so important. The 5th degree is when we start to really grow. That's where we invest our money and grow it for the long term. Now, unfortunately, most of us start out saying, well, I've got control of my income, I've got some extra money, and I want to grow it now for the future. But if you don't have the proper protections in place, if you don't have an emergency fund, and if you're still carrying debt, that is a bad thing to do. Why? Because just one thing. Let's say that you have an economic slowdown, you lose your job. Income goes away, what happens to the debt? Does it go away? Absolutely not. So when you start jumping the gates or get this process out of sequence, you really set yourself up for a disaster. And by the way, if you look around in the world today, there's a lot of disaster happening. Why? Because we haven't been following this pattern. So before you start to grow, and by the way, when you do grow, then it's very important to practice asset classification before you practice asset allocation. And that's one of the things we'll teach you how to do here at Reset Your Barcode Training Academy. But before you grow, you have to be out of debt. Why? Because the debt doesn't go away if the income does. So you don't leverage that. You grow it after you get out of debt. But before you get out of debt, you need to be sure you have an emergency fund, or you probably never will get out of debt. Now, before you get the emergency fund fully funded, you need to be sure that the protection is in place. Why? Because that kind of disaster can happen at any time. And when it does, it's the kind that's very difficult to overcome. So you get the protection in place, and none of it happens unless we get the 1st degree. So the 1st degree, learn to spend less than you earn. 2nd degree, get the proper protection in place. 3rd degree, get an emergency and opportunity fund and make it a lifetime practice. 4th degree, systematically eliminate all debt and remain debt-free for the rest of your life. 5th degree, now we can grow our money. Grow it until it becomes large enough that it can produce an income for us. Now we're totally financially free. We can stop working, still have income, and not worry about something happening to take it away. So keep that in mind as you put together your financial freedom plan. And remember, when you reset your finances, when you reset your barcode, you really do reset your life. Thank you.